We are alive, excited to be here for another week training. We are recording. So we are going live right now on YouTube. We're going to be going on Facebook in a second, and Instagram, and of course for our staff and our agents. We're going to talk about something that I think people are missing in this space for our agents. And I want you to think about how to scale up the amount of money that you're making. And I want you to be asking yourself a question of, do you want to participate in investments? Do you want to participate in flipping? And do you want to participate in wholesaling? And there are some positives and some negatives to doing this, but I want to walk you through how it's done and when you should make the decision to do that. Most of this conversation is just going to be me talking to the camera and walking you through it first, okay? As it relates to you being a real estate agent, naturally, we make our money, my arm on my chair is messing up, but we make our money on commission-based models, okay? And, what that means is you should be scaling up your business to do as many deals as possible, because you know that you're going to be living and dying by the 2 to 6% range. If you're on the buyer side, you're going to have to get paid what's being offered out, which could be anywhere from 2 to 2.5 to 3%, but we're seeing mostly 2. On the listing side, you should be getting 3%. Maybe you're doing 4.5, 5, or 6, but you know that spread could be a potential of 2 on the buy side, call it 3 on the list side, and if you can double side, you get 5%, okay? And so it's a good model. If you could do 100 deals a year, you can make a lot of money, okay? But there's opportunity that you're going to be coming across, and you want to ask yourself, is there a chance to make more? Is there a chance to do more financially than just the commission? Okay. And so I want to talk to you first about wholesaling and what is happening in the wholesaling space, how wholesalers are getting their business, and what that model looks like, and why you have a competitive advantage to potentially make money in the wholesaling space as well. But we have to be careful, because your duties as an agent are different than your desires as a home sale person. As a wholesale person, okay? The first is that what wholesalers are doing right now is they are looking for investment properties where they know that they can make money, okay? So what the wholesalers are doing is they are looking for property opportunity where they can get a property, tie it up, and make money on tying up that property, okay? Okay, hold on one sec. Let me just mute. Okay, and so what we want to do as a agent is looking for this opportunity to say, is there a chance to make more than my traditional 3, 4, 5, 6%? And how do I get into this transaction? Okay. So on my listing calls, you're making a lot of calls to people who are motivated sellers. You are going to find some sellers that are motivated to move, and they have a home that might need a lot of repair, and they are willing to sell for significantly undervalue because they understand that the home is going to need work, okay? You have to go through and do an analysis, and you have to be very careful up front how you approach it, because you want to make sure that you're being very upfront, very transparent, so that you're not violating anybody's any rules or regulations of being an agent. So you meet with somebody about their property, you don't want to be initially, if you see, hey, this could be a wholesale opportunity for me as an agent, I have to disclose that I'm an agent, but you want to be having that initial form filled out as a facilitator. Okay. You do not want to be a fiduciary agent, because if you are a fiduciary agent, then you have a duty to get them the most amount of money, zealous advocacy, all of these things. So your initial conversation, if you're going in as an agent and you're saying, hey, this could be a wholesaling opportunity, is we want to be a facilitator in that transaction. The second is disclosing that you're an agent up front. And third, being very upfront and honest with them. When I get into these situations, I always get a little nervous because I don't want somebody looking at me as like, hey, what's this guy's trying to get me the most amount of money? And then they think I'm trying to do something underhanded. We don't do that. That's a game that a lot of companies play. But there's going to be some opportunities where you go in and you say, I have an opportunity to make more. And the seller is fine with that because they just want to unload it as is. They don't want to do the clean out. They don't want to do the repairs. So the first question you have to ask yourself is, will I make enough money on this transaction? And I want to walk through an example for you. We're going to walk through a specific one. Okay. So you find a potential property from a seller, and that is going to have a criteria that you look at the house and you know that the house needs a lot of repair. And you said, hey, if this house was fixed up, it would be worth X. In this case, we're going to say this property could be worth $400,000. Okay. The seller is likely willing to move this property at $200,000. Okay. And so if they don't have to do anything, they know it's going to need work. We need a new roof. It needs to be cleaned out. It's going to need a lot of repairs, new flooring, new carpets, new kitchens, new bathroom. And the seller doesn't want to do it. And you know that 400 is the potential, and you know that this person wants to sell and they're willing to sell it for significantly less. You have to ask yourself the question, as not just a real estate agent, but as an investor, is where could I make the most amount of money where everybody wins? I'm going to be potentially selling this to somebody for much less so they can gain the reward. The question is, should that be you? And do you want that to be you? And then how do we structure that deal and put it together? So first, we find the property and we say, okay, I got a motivated seller. It definitely needs a lot of work. I know in this neighborhood, homes that are in good condition are selling for $400,000. I know that this house needs a lot of work, and I think that the seller, it will take something in the low 200,000. Okay. The question is, do I broker this, or do I myself try to become the wholesaler to see if there's a bigger payday available for me, or do I actually acquire the property and become the flipper? Okay. Now, I want to advise you that you have to be so careful, so upfront, and so transparent in this process. Because when I go into situations, I stopped even considering myself as the wholesaler, because I never felt fully comfortable that if I felt like there was an opportunity, I always wanted to just try to do it for that person. But what I did find is that I get a lot of sellers that say, hey, listen, I don't care. I want to move it. I don't want to deal with it. I want cash. I want to be out of here in 30 days and I want to move on. And I know somebody's going to make money, and I know that I could get more if I did A, B, and C, but I'm okay with that. And so what we want to do is proper disclosure up front. And then we want to be signing liability waivers, right? So first, we're going to have an agency disclosure as a facilitator. Second, we're going to clearly outline in writing what we're doing, that we are taking on this property as if we're going offside the agent route as either a wholesaler or a flipper, that we've advised them of the different paths and options, and that based on that, we are going to go in and purchase that with waivers and forms. So nobody could ever say that we took advantage of somebody, because we don't do that and we would never do that. And as a real estate agent and a realtor, that's against what we do. But if you find an opportunity where somebody is fully on board that, hey, we know we're going to make less because we don't want to deal with it, you can slide into this position to make greater money. Okay, let me share my screen with you guys. First, let me pull up just a blank sheet to help us. Share the screen. Here we go. Turn a meeting. Let's go into Google. I'm going to just put this down, some note form, so we have it so I could send it to you guys. Let me move this box. Go Drive. Let's get rid of a bunch of stuff up here. We don't need any of it. Okay. Okay. Now we're in Google Drive. Leave. Okay. Shut this too. Always the password. Always see Ben. He's still here. Still in my system. Oh boy. Oh boy. Sorry about this, guys. It's like Brad said, get your password set before you get into the training. All right, let me do this. I think it's because I'm in Google. So let me go over to this. Let me shut this. Let me shut this. Let's shut this. Let's shut this. Okay. Let's go into Drive. This one I'm pretty sure is already loaded with my password. Perfect. Okay. All right. Let's do a document. Perfect. Sorry for the little delay. The technical snafu. All right. Flipping. Verse. Okay. So here we go. So let's just say, for an example, that you find an opportunity and you come to me and say, listen, I found a house that I believe is worth 400,000, but it needs work. Okay. Now, you may not be at the level of figuring out what something is going to need. It's a skill that you're developed. As you start to wholesale and flip and think about things that way and become engaged in that process, you are going to know up front, okay, this is how much hardwood floors cost installed, and this is where I can get it from. This is how much I can get a kitchen installed for. This is how much my tile is going to cost for the bathroom. This is what the new vanities are going to cost me. This is what a new toilet's going to cost and then install. This is how much it's going to cost to paint the house. As you do this, you will get much better at getting a sense of what a renovation cost will be. Now, every one of us who engages in a flip or a wholesale, there's always risk. If we open a wall, that could be an issue that we didn't know. That could be mold that we weren't aware of, that you couldn't see. There could be electrical challenges in the wall that we didn't foresee. There could be plumbing problems that were more extensive than we thought. That does happen. But for the most part, you're going to get a pretty good sense when you start to do this over time. I could walk in and say, I know what this kitchen's going to cost me. I know what the granite's going to cost me. I know what the plumbing's going to cost me if I got to do the whole house. I know what the electrical's going to cost. I pretty much, when I walk through, I know if I'm in a 50, 70, 80,000, and I add a percentage of that. But let's say I walk into this house and I said, hey, this house is worth 400,000. Okay. And the seller is saying to me, get me 200,000 cash fast. Now, this happens a lot when you are going at this business. And this is how wholesalers make their money. What they do is they're usually not agents. They go in strictly as wholesalers, and they're trying to, a lot of times it's not as transparent or helpful. But listen, what you're going to find and what I've learned is you'd be straight up with people because you're in this great position to do everything for them. So in this particular situation, I go to the seller and say, hey, listen, let me just tell you a couple of things. One, I'm a real estate agent and I can sell your house and I can show you and teach you how to get the most amount of money for this property. Now, you're going to have to come up with an investment. Okay. You're going to have to go through and spend a certain amount of money. And I give them different levels, like a cleanup, a paint to get it looking good is one. Two, we're going to go in and do more extensive renovations, and we're going to put in new kitchens, bathrooms. And then three, we're going to go like soup to nuts. We're going to get this place looking brand new. And that in your situation from 2 to 400, your options are you put in 20,000 for a cleanup. Okay. And we can likely get you 250. You know, we spend 70,000 and we do a lot of the work. We're going to get new kitchens, bathrooms. It's going to look good. We won't do everything, but it's going to be looking much nicer and newer pretty much throughout the house for a renovation. And we can get you, say 330 to 340. We spend 100,000. To get you 400. So option one, as an agent, to try to get you. So the great thing about me is I can help you a whole bunch of ways. The first way is I'm a real estate agent and I'm not representing you because I'm a facilitator right now. We're just engaging in a dialogue and a conversation. So I don't represent your interest right now. But as a facilitator, I can educate you on how to get more money for your house. I know you said you want 200,000, and in this condition, you're probably right that it is not going to go to a traditional buyer because it's not going to pass FHA guidelines. It needs a lot of work. It probably needs a 203K rehab loan, or it's going to need a cash buyer or a flipper. But if you have the money and the resources, I can broker this for you and I can sell it. And if you do the following, I can get you much higher numbers. Your investment is going to be returned on the amount of money that you're going to make money on this. If you put 20,000 in, I'm going to get you 30 grand more. If you put 70,000 into the reno, we could get 330 to 340. If you put 100,000 in, I can get you 400. Okay. And listen, at the back end, that's what I'm going to do, or that's what I'm going to get a buyer for you to do, is they're going to come in and do this and they'll make money in the back end. So the great position that we're in as agents is we can advise people of this strategy. And we're being very upfront and transparent and say, hey, look, at the end of the day, this is a good house, but it needs work. You're going to find some sellers that say, I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to put a penny into this. I don't want to put 20 grand in. I don't want to put 10 grand in. I just want to walk away from it. If I can get 200,000 cash fast, no contingencies, I don't want a lot of people walking through the house, I'll let this thing go. And I know. And you say, listen, I understand and I can help you with that too. I myself wholesale properties. Okay. And I flip properties. Okay. These are our options. So option one as the agent is this. First, we run the math and we say, okay, in this scenario, if I sell this house for 200, I know that I can find my own buyer because I'm just going to go to flippers in the market. And let's say I can get 5%. I'm going to get 10,000. But then I'm going to get to relist this property. Okay. When they're done with it, because I'll make that a condition when I go to my flipper. I'm going to say, hey, listen, I'm going to get you this deal. You're going to be able to make money. And then when you list it for 400, I'm going to get 4%. And I'm likely to get you might get double, but let's just say you're going to get 2% on it. So in this case, I'm going to get $8,000, right? So as the agent, I'm really going to get $18,000 to have no liability, but connecting them as a traditional agent to the model, okay? The second option that you have is you can say to but being very upfront and transparent, and we don't play games with this. This is like serious stuff. If you're going to go this way, we say to this seller, say, listen, I know you need cash fast. And what I can do, not as your agent, but I do have people that they'll pay me as part of this process. So you won't have to pay me a commission, but they will pay me to find them deals because they can make money on this. Just like I explained to you that you can do it. You explained you didn't want to do it. So the next question is, do you become a wholesaler of the property as opposed to selling it as the real estate agent? And remember, at this point, the disclosure that you had with that client was you're a facilitator. Okay, you didn't put buyers, you didn't put listing. You're in negotiations and conversations with them as a facilitator of properties. And you could say to them, say, listen, if I'm the agent, that I'm going to get this percent, 5%, you're going to have to pay me 10,000. Now I could wholesale the property. And what happens is I don't represent you, but I negotiate with the buyer and I try to make as much money as I can, but I have them pay it in the wholesaling part of this process. So I'm not going to represent you as an agent. And what you do is you say, okay, I'm going to put you under agreement myself. So I know that I have the rights to this. And what I'm going to do is say, Chris Doherty is the purchaser and or / nominee and or assignee. Now, listen, a lot of wholesalers are not going to be upfront with the sellers. They're just going to do a contract like this. And when they go up to close, they'll sell this house for $240. And the exchange is all going to happen at that closing. And this person's going to know about it. I'm telling you this, there are a lot of sellers out there in these situations. They don't care if they're upfront. If we are truthful and transparent, you can wholesale. So in this case, what you would do is you say, listen, I'm going to have people and I could flip this contract and they're going to pay me and I'll make more. It won't cost you anything. Now, I want to be upfront with you. I might very well end up getting more than the 10,000 you would pay me in a commission. It really depends on my ability to find a flipper who is willing to pay me to flip this contract with them. And so what happens is I'm guaranteeing you I'm going to buy the house, but I might actually have a third party that ends up closing on it in the end. I'm going to wholesale the property. I'm going to not charge you any money. I'm going to get you under contract so you know that I'm going to buy it, but then I'm going to actually find a third party who's going to come in. But I'm not going to lie to you. I'm going to try to make money on wholesaling the property, and I have to negotiate that with the buyer. Okay. And so what's happening right now in the industry is a lot of wholesalers are not disclosing what they truly do. They go in and they tie it up for 200, and then you get to the end and they flip it to a nominee or assignee. Chris Doherty goes to Vava and says, hey, Vava, will you give me $250 for this property? And you go, yeah, because you know what? I think for 50, I think that you are over on your renovation. I think for 50 grand in, I can get 400. So I give you 50, Vava. My renos are 50. I'm at 300. And now I still can make, maybe they have commissions or whatever, but I still can make $80,000. And so when I go in as a wholesaler, if I do this, I have them sign a wholesaler liability waiver that explains what I'm doing, explains I'm a real estate agent, explains that I advised them of step one, right? Agent model. So now in this case, the question for you is, You need to know as you get better at this, you're going to have a relationship with somebody that's flipping. You have to ask yourself, can you make more? And can you do it ethically? And ethically is full transparency and disclosure, because there are some sellers, they don't care. They just want to get out. Just give me my 200 and I'll move on. I don't care what you do. If you get somebody 250, great for you. Where we get into trouble, where wholesalers get into trouble, where the industry gets a bad name is people lie, they misrepresent, they pretend, they try to steal stuff. You don't have to do that. If you're upfront, trust me, you're going to find clients that say, listen, give me my 200 cash. I don't care. If you get somebody for 350, great for you. But I want cash and I want to close in 30 days. So you have to ask yourself when you find these opportunities, should I just do this as an agent? And if I do, I know I could make 18,000, no liability, no risk. It's the traditional model. The second is as you get better with these numbers, you might say, I could wholesale this property without an agency. I'm being this as a facilitator, but I can make $30,000 on flipping the contract, which means I'm going to sign it, but I'm going to sign it where I have an opportunity to bring in a nominee or an assignee so I can flip it. I have the contract. Nobody else can buy it. But now I go to Valerie and I go, Valerie, listen, I get a great opportunity for 200 and it's going to sell for 4, but I got to get paid. I'll flip the contract for you for 30 grand. So now your commission is more. And then you go to them and you say, and not only am I going to flip it for you for 30 grand, but I also want to be the broker on the sale when you sell it. So I'm going to be up for that additional $8,000. So now as a wholesaler and an agent on the back end, I'm making 38,000 on the flip because my mind was open to other possibilities. All right. I get nervous about going into this because what I think is important is I've always said it's hard if people think you're going in as a straight agent. You have a duty to get them the most amount of money possible. And when you go in as a wholesaler, you really want to get the money for the least amount of money. And so it's harder as an agent to land every deal because I don't want you going in there grinding people down, trying to get them low and forgetting you're an agent. For me, I like to show them that, hey, what's great about me is I can help you a lot of different ways. One, agent model. You put in the money, I could get you more, and I will. And then I get the listing and I'll sell it. And now my facilitator is going to change to seller agent. Okay. Option 2 is if you don't want to pay any money and you want to be FSBO, right? You don't want an agent because you think you could do better. I'm a facilitator right now. I could tell you that I will wholesale the property and I will do what I advised you to do, but a little differently. I will go into contract. So you're going to get you 200, but I'm going to go try to find somebody and I'm going to get them to pay me for finding them this opportunity. And then they're going to come in and they have to make money because they're not going to do this for free. So we got to figure out this number of, what I think I can wholesale your property for. But I say, listen, I'll probably make more. One of the benefits of wholesaling for me is I'm going to tie it up. I'll guarantee you get you 200, but I'm now going to negotiate on the back end to get paid by a buyer. And I got to figure out how much they're willing to pay me for this flip. But it saves you that agency fee that you don't want to pay, because you're not going to be part of it. Now, if I was in the mix, maybe you want to sell for, 216 to cover my fees. In this case, you're going to get 200 flat and I'm going to wholesale the property. The third way is you buy the property and you don't wholesale it and you actually flip the property. Okay. And you need to start thinking about these opportunities and keeping them as opposed to giving them away. So in this scenario, you know that you can buy this property for 200,000. Let me just go back up here and do the math. So here, you know that you're actually going under contract for 200,000 as a wholesaler, as your name nominee or assignee, and you know that you're going to get a fee for finding it. And then, you know, it could be 16,000 or 5% could be 10,000. You're going to get a broker fee to resell. That's the wholesaling option. Okay. And what you did was just tie the property up, but you don't close on it. Option 3 is we have to be asking ourselves, do we start making the money on the opportunity? So in this case right now, you know, I know Shirley's looking at this and she's saying, yeah, you know what? I go in as the agent model. I can make 18 grand, but I have good relationships with some people and I'll get more business. And you're right. And that's a decision we have to make. But in this scenario, let's say that this property needs 100,000 in work. And now let's say you have to pay a half of a broker fee yourself and you're going to pay 2%. You're going to have, wait, I'm going to talk through how you do a flip, how you get the money and all that. We're going to go through that next. But let's just say, okay, we've got carrying cost of financing of 10,000. We're going to have some closing costs, transfer taxes, all that. Let's call it 4,000. Now in this situation, we're at 322,000. And the opportunity here is $78,000 profit as the flipper. Okay. And so you look at this and you say, okay, as option 1, as an agent, I would have made 18,000 on the opportunity. But I'm developing a relationship with this flipper. We do stuff all the time. I don't have any headaches whatsoever. I go in, it's very easy. Option 2 is I think about it strategically a little differently. And I said, this person's really pushing back on an agent. They don't want it. They really just want to have somebody come in and buy it. I could become a wholesaler. But remember, you're a facilitator, because I still want you doing a facilitator agreement when you walk in, so that nobody can ever say that, hey, you didn't tell them what the rules are, because you still are a licensed real estate agent. So option 2 is you go in as a wholesale, and now your profit is gone from 18,000 to 38,000, because you knew on the back end you could grab a quick 30 for flipping it, which was better than the fee. Okay. Now, some of you might be saying, well, hey, I could get the broker fee, and can I get somebody to pay me on the back end? And the answer is no, because you have a duty, right, to the seller. And even if you got the other side, you got to be reasonable to all parties. So technically that would be a violation of your duties. So you can't do that, right? So you can't get the kickback. But as a facilitator, you could wholesale this and you could be in the game that way. Okay. And then the third property, full transparency, you say, listen, option 3 is I'll actually come in and I'll purchase this property from you, but I'm going to do exactly what I'm advising you to do. I'll buy this for 200. I'm going to put in the 100. I'm going to have to pay agency fees. I'm going to pay closing costs, but I'm going to make money on this at the end of the day. And I'll do that for you if you want to do that. So option 3 is I'll actually acquire this property from you. I'll buy it, so that we're now in a situation where, you know, I will own this for you. I could close it out in 30 days and you won't have to deal with it. But I want to be very upfront. I want to be very transparent with you that what I'm going to do at the end of the day is I'm going to buy this off you. I'm going to put the amount of money needed. It could be more than 100,000. It could be a little less. I'm not 100% sure until we get in here and we start to do everything, right? You know, maybe we open the walls and there's a mold issue that we didn't know about. That's the risk I'm willing to take. Okay. But at the end of the day, I'm going to profit off this and I will resell it. So you're going to see this come on in a period of time. Now for you, you want it to be more than 90 days, because there's a 90-day rule when you flip a property that, especially FHA, but even conventional, you can't flip a property for more than a certain percentage of profit within 90 days. So usually these take time and not a lot of people bump into them, but we just dealt with that on a sale on Lawrence Street that Michaela had, that they were making 250,000 on a pretty good flip. They did exactly what I'm telling you to do. The agent in that made, you know, more than that, because it was a $700 something thousand sale, 14 grand. but the flippers made 200 and something. They found it and brought it to Michaela, but you see the difference in thinking a little bit differently. And that one didn't need extensive reno. It was that in that situation, that seller was motivated. Hey, pay me cash, get me out. Now, I don't know how those wholesalers dealt with all of they hired us after. But at the end of the day, the difference was the flippers made 200 and the agent made 18. And so when you go into these situations, you have to be asking yourself, should I be trying to make more money, being open, being fully transparent? There's no funny business here. I don't want anything other than full transparency, but there might be opportunities that come your way where you are going to find the right seller and they're going to say to you, listen, I don't care if you make the money. Like, go ahead. I don't want to deal with it. I don't have any money. We're getting a divorce. We want 200 grand. Get us that, move on. You deal with it. All right. I want you to sign a form that explains exactly what I'm going to do, that I've advised you of that you understand it and you're comfortable with it. When you're upfront and transparent with people, you have a good deal. This is the same just in a regular real estate agent transaction. It's when people hide, it's when people conceal, it's when people aren't honest, when we have problems. And so you can go into a second and third model if you do it the right way while you comply with your license obligations. Okay, that's always the key. So I want you to start thinking about when you see opportunities, are you a wholesaler? Are you flipping a property? Right now, regular agents are getting their clocks cleaned by wholesalers because what's happening is they have aggressive call programs. They have dialers on the phones. They're hitting our market just like we are as agents. They're going through with a little different tactic because they're going, oh, it's not worth that much. It's a little bit used car sales, right? You don't have to do that. In fact, I would do the opposite. But they're getting to these people and what they're saying is, hey, cash for keys. We'll do the clean out for you. You don't have to clean anything out. You don't have to have people walking through your house. So don't even worry about it. You don't have to be listed on the MLS. You don't have to be embarrassed about people trying to figure out your situation. I'm going to give you cash and you're going to walk away. And to a lot of people, that is very appealing and they will take a lot less because they don't want to deal with the headaches. You want to have that as a potential opportunity for you where you could make more. Okay. So now the question is on the wholesale, how do we do it? This is going to require you to have flippers ready to go. Because if you're going to, you'll get better at this. In the beginning, it's a little tricky because you have to walk in and you might see this opportunity and you might be a little bit slower to make a move because you don't know. But there will be a point when you start to do this and you get more comfortable with it. You're going to go in and say, all right, I know this is a deal. I know this will sell for 400. I know this is going to need in the range of 100. You're going to know off gut and you could tie up that property and you could do like mutually agreeable P&S, something like that, and try to get access to verify that. But when you get better, you need to make sure that you have a list of buyers, just like you would on the back end, who you can wholesale to. Okay. And so what you don't want to do is tie up as a wholesaler and you have nowhere to go to, and then you're flipping it and you don't want to. Okay. If you're going to wholesale, you got to give yourself enough time and you need to know that you have these buyers on the back end. And trust me, if you have a property where somebody can make some money on a flip, there's going to be no shortage, but you need to know who they are in your market and how you get to them quickly. So you could say, hey, look, I got to go to opportunity. And you're doing this up front with your client. You say, hey, listen, I'm going to wholesale this. What I'll do is I will tie this up. Let's do a contract right now. I'm going to be the buyer. You'll do that. Sign the liability waiver form. I've advised you this. You're comfortable with it. Any issues, any concerns, you want to show your lawyer, any of that. You sign the agreement. Now you're in the contract. You say to this seller, listen, I'm going to bring in a number of contractors that we deal with. I want to have them look at it. They're going to price it out. They're going to give me guidance. They might be buyers on the back end, but they're going to pay me my fee, which will be, I don't know. I have to negotiate it. Okay. Could be, it could be, it's probably going to be more than I would make as a real estate agent commission, but it may not be. I won't know because you honestly won't know until you get there, but you're upfront with it and you haven't signed the form. Then you get ready to go. You set up a tour, you start going through the flippers in your market and you say to them, hey, I'm wholesaling this property. I want to get 20 grand, 30 grand. Now, listen, if you can only get 10 grand to wholesale it, you want to be selling that, right? Because you know you're going to get 10 grand as an agent. There's no benefit to take on the contract and do that. If you want to, but if you're going to make 2 times, 3 times, 4 times the money wholesaling it, like in this case, we're going to make 20 grand more, you want to wholesale that property. You can make more money doing that. And this seller might be one, like I have a deal we just did where I wholesaled it. I just did the deal. You know, in that case, the seller didn't want to pay a commission. And I said, listen, I'm going to get you more money with my commission built in. They don't believe it. I said, okay, what if I can get you a buyer at this number and I'll have them pay the fee. I'll wholesale it. That's fine. Just get me my number. And that's what I did. I went to the buyer. Can you give me 25 grand on the contract? It was 225,000. Yep, I'll give you 225. I'll give you 25,000. So I wholesaled it. So instead of making 12 grand, I made 25 grand because the seller didn't want to pay a commission, but I was upfront with it, transparent with it, no funny business. This is what it is. Sign the form. You're comfortable with this. I'm not your agent. I'm just being a facilitator here. And then I'm actually becoming a buyer, assignee of the property. And that's what I did. Now, in that case, I could have flipped that property, but it was too much. I went through it and I said, you know what? This could be 100 grand, but there's a lot of, kitchen was in a weird spot. I might have to move walls. For me, it was getting too complex. And while I thought that I could make profit flipping it, I stayed away from it simply because I thought that it was going to be too much. Okay. Okay. So now flipping a property, how do you do it? Now you're going to become the buyer of this property. Usually to succeed in this, you're going to have to come up with the money in 30 days or less. And they're going to want a no contingency offer. So if you want to flip, you're going to have to do a couple of things. First, you need the money. Now, you could go to a conventional bank. That can close quick. But you have to ask yourself a couple of things. This is going to be a construction loan. Okay. So normally you're going to need 20% down. If you have time, if the seller says, hey, I don't mind waiting 60 days, you could go 203K rehab, but you're supposed to live in it. So if you say, hey, I'm not going to flip it right now, I'm going to live in it for a while, you could do that. But other than that, your first option is you go to a bank, you go to Enterprise Bank, you go to Lowell 5 Bank, you have to go to a portfolio lender. You can't go to like Bank of America. They're not going to do it. You got to go to a bank that will give you a construction loan, which is, it's a rehab loan. Okay. That's option 1. Option 2, we go to a hard money lender. Typically 12% right now. More expensive. The benefits, quick close, fewer regulations. In every market, in our market, you have Belvedere Capital. Belvedere Capital, 12%, 2 points. They'll finance 100% of the loan. So you go in, you said, hey, I got a quick flip. I could get in and out of here. 12% is a lot of money, but it's not if you can move very quickly. But what you then have to do is add up this 12% interest and say, okay, if I can do this in 6 months, right, at 12% on the, you know, I need the money plus the rehab. If it's going to be 300,000. So let's just run some rough math. I say at $300,000 times 12%, we're at 36,000 divided by 2, half the year, we got 2 points. You know, you're looking at 21 to 22,000. okay? And interest. That's going to become part of our, I had a 10 carry on a regular bank, because think about it, it's almost 3 times what you can get. But what you're getting is speed. You're going to be able to close on 30. A lot of times 100%. Some of them will no money down. Some of them allow 5% down, some are 10. So there's benefits. And then of course, there's always the risk. What if you can't sell it right away? But a lot of your flippers are going to hard money lenders like Belvedere Capital in our market. And Belvedere Capital is going to the flippers. Why are they doing that? Because otherwise, this flipper is going to have to get a partner. So they're going to say, you know what? I want to buy this place, and this is another option for you. I know that I can make 78,000, but I don't have the money. So they come to a Chris Doherty and they go, listen, Chris, I got a great flip. We could make some money, and I want to bring you on as a partner. I'll take care of the flip. I'll do the work, but I want you to pay for the house and I want you to pay for the upgrades. So I come in and say, okay, I'll fund the 322 as a 50-50 partner, and then we'll split any proceeds. Plus I'll still get interest on my money. So the reality is some people don't want to take on the risk of the straight 12%. They'd rather bring on a partner. But in this case, as a partnership, I will charge less than interest, but I'm going to also get half the profit. So in this case, they paid 21 to 22,000. In this case, they're going to end up paying 36 or 37,000 on the half of the money plus an 8% kicker on the interest. They got to end up spending 45,000. But the benefit is with a partner, they figure, hey, if we have a problem, if we don't go through, it's not likely the partner's going to foreclose. He could, but it's not likely. They're going to work with me and we could figure out a deal. Okay. So the other way is if you don't get a hard money lender, a lot of these flippers are bringing in a cash partner. Now, in this case, bringing in a cash partner, there's probably not enough money for that deal, right? Because it's just, if, you know, it's too many unknowns and variables. But a lot of the flippers that you're dealing with, they don't have cash. They're bringing in the cash partner and saying, okay, listen, I'll give you all the money. I'll buy it with you. And here's the deal. I get paid for my money, a percentage, and you might be able to negotiate that. And then I'll get 50% of any proceeds. And in that case, if you're going to bring in a partner, you need to make sure that you trust them. You need to make sure they're reputable. But this, you say, all right, I go to the money, the bank isn't working. 2, I'm going to go to a hard money lender. Okay. 3 is bringing in a cash partner. Next level on this, if you wanted to grow this type of business, is it's crowdfunding may not be the right term for it, but it's a place where you're raising money from people. This is Grant Cardone, for those of you guys who know him and follow him. What he's doing is he's buying deals and he's raising all the money, he's crowdfunding, getting a lot of people. Give me 10 grand, give me 20 grand, give me 50 grand to get to that down payment. And then people get a return that we predetermine. So at the end of the day, you could get to this level and I could do like, I'm going to have Dean Atkins on for a training. I talked to him this morning, and Dean has a fund that's worth over $1 billion and he makes crazy money. But what he does is he finds deals just like this. He finds an opportunity. Now, he's not going to find a single family home because it's smaller than his league, but he's finding large properties and saying, hey, there's value here. There's money here. There's revenue here. Maybe we're buying this property for 100 million, 200 million, but how do we come up with the money? And what they do is they raise the money. They raise the money from investors. Okay. And they go through this process of setting up a fund. And then they go to Chris Doherty and they go, hey, we got this opportunity to buy a building. It's 200 million. We need to come up with 40 million for the buy-in. And we're going to get it from a lot of different people. Chris, can you come up with 50 grand, 100 grand? They'll have a minimum threshold, but it doesn't have to be for these big buildings. You could get to this place where you say, hey, I have this flip and I need to come up with 300 grand. And you could say to 6 investors at 50,000 each, listen, if you put 50,000 in, you're going to get this return 8%, 7% over a 6-month period of time. And that might be actually, that might be a lot cheaper than going another road, and you don't have any liability, right? Because if it goes bust, your investors are the ones that would take the hit. Now you're not in any notes. But this is a much more complicated, longer term strategy of growth. But what I want you to be thinking about is there other opportunity for you to be making money? And this works on the investment side. If you see a great multifamily property, should you just be focused on your agent model, or should you be enlightened enough that you're thinking potential wholesale, potential flip, or potential hold where you become the actual investor buyer? But in order to do that, you need to be open, you need to be transparent, you need to be proper on disclosure. If you're going in there as a real, and then it's like, how did I come into this situation? Are they looking at me as an agent? Are they looking at me as this? It's really important that you're upfront in your approach. It's like, hey, let me just give you my menu of options. And I do this now because I have seen when I get to this agent model, and I get my for sale by owner, I go in and say, listen, I want to talk to you about selling the house. And you've been trying to sell it your own. Let's talk about it. I listen to them. I go, I have a couple of different options for you. And I'll only just walk them through you and see what makes sense for you. I'm a real estate agent and I can help you, and I'm going to charge you 5%. And this is what I think you could get for your house. And if this is the path you want to take, I can help you with that. But if you are really holding to not getting a real estate agent, I just told you, I think I could get you more money if you hire me, but you got to pay me. The second option is I could give you a number that you want right now without the fee. But what I'm going to do is what I'm advising you that I can do. I'm going to go on the back end. I'm going to get paid by a buyer, and I'm going to get paid my fee out of that wholesaling. I'll put you under contract myself, and then I'll have somebody in place that way. That way you don't pay a fee. You know you're going to get your money from me. We'll sign this contract so you know your deal's done, and you're going to be out of here in 30 days or 45 days or whatever we do. You will have money at the closing, cash. I'm not going to do any contingencies. Okay. And that's an option. Or the third way is, listen, I know you want to sell it. I know you pay a fee. I'll buy it. And when I buy it, I'm going to do the work, and when I'm done, I'm going to put it on the market, and I'm going to do what I advise you that I could do for you as an agent. So if you do it the right way, it all comes together nicely. Okay. What I'm doing when I'm going on to my listing appointments is not just thinking this. I also have a rental model that I've added into this because we're a management company too. A lot of you guys aren't part of that because you're agents, but we'll rent a model and manage it. Because what I do is I say to them, listen, I can do whatever you want. I'm here to help you. And I can help you make the most amount of money on what I advised you. If you want, we can rent out this property for you and we can manage it for you. If you want to do that and you don't want to sell it, that's an option we can do for you. We can wholesale this property for you. Well, I'll buy it and I'm going to find somebody, but it's going to take that pressure off you and you don't have to pay me any fee. Or I'm going to buy it myself and I'll do exactly what I advise you to do. If you don't want to do it, I'll make the money. But I want to make sure you know that. I want to make sure you're transparent with it, but I'm going to do exactly what I advised you to do. You see how that works? And that's so much better than going at people with this, like, you go in kind of weird and you're like, a lot of our agents aren't like this. We get a lot of agents, they're like wholesalers and kind of agents, but they lead with the wholesale and they kind of ignore the good advice for the client. And you don't have to because you're a facilitator, but you go in and you say to them, listen, this is what I would do. If you don't want to do that, then let's try one of these other models. Okay. And when you find these opportunities, if you do it the right way, you're going to be able to profit more. You're going to be able to make more money simply because you thought about it the right way and you opened up your mind to possibility. Now, in the rental model, you usually don't. But the reason that I do it is because we do rentals and we do manage and we'll make money long term. But it's just another option. So I say, listen, this is why I'm different. This is what makes me different. Most agents are just going to come in here and they're just going to want the commission and they're just going to tell you to sell. And that's it. But me, I'm telling you that I'll work with you however you want. If you want to sell, we do that, and I can help you with that, and I want to help you with that. I'll add value to you in that way. If you want to rent it, I'll rent it for you, and I'll manage that property for you, and I'll make money for that. So I'm going to make money on that model. So I don't care if you sell. I'm not biased in this situation. I'm happy with what you do anyway. It's what's going to work for you best. Third is if you just want to get out and you're just like tired of this, I'll wholesale this property if we do that as well. But I want you to understand wholesaling, what it is. We make money on the back end. I'll probably make more money than I would as an agent on the front end. But if that's something that you want to do, but you're only doing this on a property that you feel like you can wholesale and make money, right? You don't want to wholesale this and make $3,000 when you as an agent can make 10. You're not putting that on the table. But if you think it's an opportunity where you could make money, you're open, you're transparent, you're a facilitator, and you go in and you advise them as an opportunity. You say, listen, the other thing is I buy homes and I flip them. And so I'll do that for you too. If you want to go that route. And then what I'll do is I'm going to do exactly what I advise you to do. You can sell it to me for 200. I'm going to put in the 100 and I'm going to try to get as much as possible. For 100, I'm going to have to pay the agency fee. I'm going to have to pay other stuff and I'll make some money, but it's an option for you. And so I don't want you to feel wedded to any one way or that I'm biased, but I'm here to help you. And I have different options to get you to the solution that you want. That way, when the wholesaler comes in behind you and says cash for keys, you gave them that option. That way, when the management company comes in behind you and says, we can rent this for you, you don't have to sell, you already gave them that option. That way, when the flipper came in and says, hey, I'll just take it off your hands and I'll make the money, you already gave them that option. You're giving them all the options that you can do it. And then for you, you could make more money. Okay. Now, this is going to take a lot of training, guidance of how do you know what to spend. We got to go through this process of like, even if you don't have an inspection per se, you're going to need to get somebody in there you got to figure out like, all right, if we're going to go this route, I'll put this under agreement, but I got to get my guys in and I got to get to work because you want to make sure you're not totally wrong on the flip. I've been there before. I've lost money on them. Okay. Does anybody have any questions about this? I know I went over, but I think this is important. I just want you, Shirley, have you thought a lot about wholesaling at all or flipping?
I don't know. The wholesaling thing, it sounds to me almost like a net listing kind of thing. I came a little late on the training. I don't know if I missed the beginning. I'm going to watch it.
Yeah. Say it again. What is it? It's what?
It's because I'm driving. I'm sorry. I said the wholesale thing sounds like a net listing kind almost.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, really, it is, except in this case, you're not listing the property. Okay. So when you wholesale it, you're going in and they're waiving you off as an agent. They're telling you that they don't want you to be their agent, that they don't want to pay you a commission. So you're going in as a buyer and you're putting that property under agreement for yourself with the right to assign it to yourself or a nominee. And you're not an agent. So we're not in a situation where we're not listing. You're actually the buyer, but you're going to assign the contract to a third party. Okay. And so the key is, when you came in, is being fully transparent about what you're doing. We put that in writing for liability purposes. So we explain it. We don't hold back on what wholesaling is. Like some people are going in and they're doing this, I think, in an unethical way, trying to grind people down and take properties. I don't think you do that, but there are some sellers. I mean, you've had them, I've had them, that they just want out. Okay. And they don't want to pay you. They don't want a real estate agent. So in this case, you are actually the buyer assigning the contract and you're making money on a contract assignment. That's the difference. You are literally going to go under contract with this property. Okay. And then flipping would be actually buying it. And so, this training.
No, I
Go ahead, Shirley. I'm sorry.
No, it's because I'm.
That's okay. Yeah. So I think with that, Shirley, it's a good question, in terms of, I think the biggest thing is whenever we deal with the public, that we're open and transparent on what we're doing. And that's how we avoid, because we can't do net listings in our business, right? And I think that the wholesaling business has come under a lot of scrutiny. But I think that if you do it right, there's a possibility to give an avenue, for you to make more money, but to give another option. Because what's happening is a lot of people are meeting with real estate agents. I've had it happen, and I'm losing to a wholesaler because the wholesaler is going in and saying, hey, I'll sign the contract right now. We'll sell in 30 days. Don't worry about it. Forget about the agent. You want Chris Doherty coming in here doing open houses? Forget that. I'll give you 200 grand and move on. And so there's nothing that will prohibit us from doing the same thing, so long as you disclose. And two, that when you go into contract, that you have a nominee or assignee and you're upfront that you're going to do that. Okay. I don't think Brad's on the call right now, but he's done a lot of wholesaling, and a lot of times wholesalers are calling him because the wholesalers don't have anybody in the back end a lot of times. So they're calling Brad, like, do you have anybody who will buy this contract? Okay. Any other questions? So let's talk it through. Go ahead, Shirley.
I said, no, I don't have it.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, I'm trying to, for you guys, make sure you're thinking about the other opportunities available to make money. Okay. If you find a good deal, there are different avenues. But you have to make sure that you're transparent and you're open and you're following your license requirement. You can't go in and say you're a seller's agent and then you're trying to buy it for less. You can't do that. You got to make sure that you're very upfront, and it can get tricky, when we start delving into these areas. But I have an agent, in our organization that was saying, hey, they have another company and they want to wholesale and all this stuff. And I said, let's go over how it's done. And, if you want to go in that direction, how do you do it legally? How do you do it ethically? How do you do it the right way? It's going to be harder to do it our way, because sometimes the truth, people will say, wait a minute, I'm not going to do that. I'll just have you sell it, or I'm not going to do anything. A lot of wholesalers are going in and they're just saying, oh, give me I'll buy it for 200. It's even overpriced. And they're making maybe false claims on what the property's really worth. They might have an older person who doesn't really understand. That's why it's important that when you go through this process, you're explaining all models. And that if you decide that you want to go off a different path, that everything is in writing with proper disclosure in compliance with our obligations. No funny business.
I like the fact that there's no funny business.
Yeah, because, like for me, Jane, I mean, I don't ever want to, I've always been more comfortable. I'm doing a project right now that I'm going to do with my father, where we're going to partner. So he's basically model 4, right? New construction, 14 homes. He's going to bring me in as a cash partner. Okay. So it's like, okay, it's not going to take my time. I'm going to make money on my money, and I'll split whatever the profit is at the end of the day, but there's risk. Okay. Not a bad model. But when you go in and you meet somebody that's older, and they're at a phase in their life that, their house is in disarray, they're financially struggling. I think it's really important that we're giving them, and whoever is in their life that gives them guidance, getting them in and saying, like, I'll say to them, like, hey, Lisa, this is the models for you. I'll just sell the property. I might be able to get you more. If we list it for 200, maybe we get more. But you're going to have to clean up the property. We got to do something, And if you get every buy-in, you're going to find some people are just, I had this not too long ago where they were just like, actually like last week, the guy's like, no, I just want my money and move on. I don't want to, I want somebody to clean it up. I don't want to deal with it. This is my number. And I said, yeah, but I might be able to get you more if I go to market, but I don't want people coming through and it's kind of embarrassing. I just want my number, and I don't want any inspections. I don't want any hassles. You're going to find that. But in that case, it's transparent. It's open. The guy knows what we're doing. It is what it is. There's no funny business.
So let
And
me
so-
just ask you this. If I were to trip upon a property like this, not having the resources like you do and the contractors or any of the people the other players in this that you would definitely
Yep.
need, can I just bring it to you? And
You could bring it for me or a partner. We could get you a partner. So you would have a couple of options. So you stumble upon one of these, Jane, and you go, all right, I think there's a great wholesaling opportunity here. I want to flip it. If it's a real money-making opportunity, we got a whole bunch of people who will do it. If
that's
somebody
what
can
I
make
mean.
money,
Do you have
there's no
people?
shortage. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, we would do it. It probably wouldn't be me because I'm in a similar boat where I don't like to really wholesale myself. I like to either sell it or buy it, because usually the money there, but I've wholesaled in the past because I made a little more money because the seller didn't want to pay the commission. The seller said, hey, I don't care. This is my number. And I said, hey, listen, I'm going to get a buyer on the back end. They'll probably pay me more than the commission. So if you pay me the commission, I might get you more. I don't care about that. Just get me my number. Just whatever. You're going to buy it. You do whatever you want. I don't care. Just give me my money. Where we don't become a net listing is in that case, I'm not acting as the broker. I'm wholesaling. I'm an actual buyer. I'm under contract. It's Chris Doherty or nominee. I'm buying it. And then I'm just selling the contract. I'm not the agent.
right. This is very interesting, Chris. I'm gonna have to sign out.
Well, that's it. We're done. Any other questions?
No.
So I just want to broaden your mind to what our competition is in the market and what is happening when we're out there just trying to sell. There are a lot of wholesalers and flippers that are going and they're enticing these people with cash. And I'm saying to you, you got to think of it that way. And you got to ask yourself, can you profit more by being that person or partnering with that person as opposed to just a commission? At the end of the day, is there another avenue for you? All right.
All right.
Thanks, guys. I look forward to seeing you guys soon. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.